Hello everyone, my name is Havian, and today I'm going to be playing some Sword Art Online Fatal Bullet, and after streaming it for pretty much the whole weekend, I feel like I understand the game enough to be able to show you guys some things. And one of the questions that actually popped up the most over the weekend while I was streaming is, can I see some sword gameplay? Can I see the sword? Can you show me sword? What is a sword like? So I'm going to show you, I think today I'll show you swords. I'm not gonna go too deep into it. It's not gonna be more of like an overview or a guide of swords, but I'm gonna show you some sword gameplay and the basics of how that works. And then I'll jump into showing you some other things in a few other videos because there's actually a lot to cover. This game's been pretty fun so far. So, if you're wondering why my office says elf ears, yeah, there's a lot of customization you can do in this. Like that's an accessory that you can equip. It's not something you can equip during character customization, but yeah. My office is an elf now. But the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna head outside, show you the basics of the what you can do with the sword. And then I guess we'll go from there. I'm gonna jump outside, show you the sword, and then I'm gonna bring like a few other characters into the party as well. So you can see what like a full party of sword users looks like. But to start off with, let's just jump outside so I can show you what he's like on my own. And honestly, from what I've been playing of the sword, it does feel like the gameplay of it is a lot deeper than I kind of expected when I first saw it. Like I saw gameplay of it, I saw the previews where Kirito is using the sword. But sword is actually a lot more fun than I thought it would be. So let me step over here into a slightly wider space and show you what you can do like from when you first get the sword. Maybe things expand as you get a little bit further into the game, but this is what you can do with it pretty much at the beginning. So, sword attacks, if you push either, well, I'm going to be talking about sword controls as if they're the default buttons. But just know, depending on what platform you're on, these buttons are going to be slightly different, but I'm going to be talking about it as if it's a PS4 controller. So if you push the shoot button or right trigger, you'll do sword slashes. The reload button will also do sword slashes because swords do not reload. You can do mid-air attacks and you can do ground attacks. On your third swing of the sword, you can charge it to do a slightly stronger attack. I don't know if there's going to be any other purpose for that or if that changes into anything else. But as of right now, that's the only thing I can think of it doing, like slightly more damage. But just know you can do that. And then if you jump, you can do mid-air attacks. And if you keep pressing mid-air attacks, you'll do a slash that drops right back down to the ground. I don't know if there's like any moves that you can do to like launch enemies into the air, but I doubt it. But along with the normal sword attacks, you do have sword skills that you can use. I've got one skill on my bar that is not a sword skill, but it's more of an evasive move that you can pretty much put into like any other weapon. But I just like having it on sword because you can get out of danger really, really quick. But I'll show you that in a second. In between all of your sword slashes, you can do a dodge, and you can dodge it in any direction by pushing circle. You do have an evasive roll on right stick, but that's it depends on what platform you're on. If you're on PC, I'm pretty sure that's going to be like bound to something else, probably like shift or control. But you have an evasive roll that you can do on right stick. It feels weird on right stick at first, but considering your thumb's always going to be on right stick anyway for aiming, it kind of starts to feel natural the more you use it. But on circle, you have the step move that you step out of danger and you go directly into a sprint after. But if you do it after a sword slash, you will sidestep, or you can do a backflip to get out of danger. But directly after backstepping, you can go back into sword slashes. So if I start slashing, so you can just keep doing it. And you can probably do that to like cancel the slight delay after the third animation hit. I mean the third hit for third sword swing. You can cancel the animation with like a backdash and go back into sword slashing. Because there is a little bit of a delay after your third swing. Alright, now that we've done all of these, let's go and actually kill some enemies with it. So these are going to be slightly lower level enemies, so they're not going to really pose much of a challenge. But when I bring the full party in here, the full sword party, I guess we can like fight a little boss so you can see what the sword gameplay is like a little bit better. You can bind your sword skills to the skill buttons. So yeah, at the moment I've got 3 sword skills and 1 evade button. That lets me get out of danger a little bit quicker. Some of your sword skills are going to have super armor, and some of them you will be able to cancel out of into a dash. I really like this. I really like using the skills that have super armor. From what I can tell, horizontal square that I just did there, and Star Splash both have super armor. The sharp nail skill doesn't seem to have it at its base level, at least, because when I use it, I tend to get knocked out of it if an enemy is swinging at the same time. And another thing that you can do with sword or melee is if you're fighting enemies that are in the air or buzzing around you a lot, you can use your whip to like drag them out of the air and down to the ground so you can actually attack them. That's something they teach you in the tutorial. They don't really specifically teach it to you about melee, but they say that you can knock enemies down that are flying with your grappling hook, and then you can slash them or you can steal an item from them when they're on the ground. One thing that I will say about sword is the way the camera is in this game doesn't really work very well with it. It's gonna take a lot of getting used to, but sword is one of the more powerful weapons in this game, so I guess there's got to be some sort of I guess there's got to be some kind of a downside, but it can end up making it feel clunky at the beginning. It's gonna take some getting used to, because you're gonna have to move the camera around a lot to make the most of like using the sword. Well, you'll kind of start to learn as you go along how you can use a tether to help yourself along with the sword. You can use it to get closer to enemies. You can use it to get away from enemies. You can use it to pull enemies down. And it actually deals damage to enemies when you hit them. It doesn't really deal a lot, but it can actually stack up. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and get my other team members into the party. You can have up to 3 other characters in the party with you. I think I'm gonna bring my officers. Probably gonna bring Kirito. Actually, no, I'll leave my officers at home. I'll bring every character that can use a sword. Every character that can use a sword. Probably Kirito, Lifa, and Yuki. Alright, so let me go ahead and grab them and bring them out here. Alright, I lied. I brought officers with me. I brought Kirito, Yuki, and Offices, or Havina, that I named her. I like her buffs, okay? She buffs everyone up. And since Yuki and Kirito use the sword a lot more than the other characters that use sword, I decided I'd rather have them too. And I guess Officers can just handle all the buffing for me. So we're gonna just run around here killing a few things so you can see what it's like. And there's like a little scorpion boss that I did inside of the preview video, or the first impressions video, that I guess we can run over and kill. But I guess you're gonna get the best idea of how the melee characters work by watching Kirito if he stays in the screen, but he's probably going to be like off in the background fighting stuff. One thing I will say about sword is it's always a good idea to have a gun with you. Even if it's a handgun, just don't try and run around with just swords only. Like, it's always a good idea to have a gun, because there are always going to be enemies out of your range and ones that you'll need a sword for. And there are some dungeons where you'll need sword because the bosses are flying. So it's always a good idea to have some sort of a long-range weapon in this game. I mean, it's a game that focuses more on guns than melee, considering there's only one melee weapon type in the game at the moment, being swords. I don't know if there's any, as of right now, I don't know if there's any other variations to the melee weapons, or the way the weapons look. Even though I know they're photon blades, I don't know if there's any other types. I know the blade color can change, but I don't know if there's anything different apart from that. I know that's a question a lot of people have been asking. And a lot of people have been asking whether or not you can change the blade color. You can change the color of the handles in your room, but I guess the color of the blade is going to depend on the item you get as a drop. It's going to depend on the weapon itself, I would assume. Alright, let's see if we can make quick work of this this boss. This guy's surrounded by so many of his little babies. But I was mentioning on the stream as well that I reckon once people start getting the hang of swords and start mastering it, sword is probably going to be one of the weapons that take things out the fastest, but it's got the most risk involved. Well, because it's melee. If you're fighting an enemy that is melee based, it's much harder than using a gun, but you can end up taking out that enemy a lot faster than if you were using a gun. If you're fighting solo there. If you're in a group, then there's a good chance that you'll be able to easily take it down with guns, but if you're fighting on your own, then there's a good chance that swords are going to be the one that actually get rid of the enemy quick, because melee-based enemies rush you down so fast. Which is something, you know, I'll show you after this. After you take out this boss, I'll show you exactly what you can do after you've kind of got used to swords and you're fighting against a boss on your own. And now I'm paralyzed. Hopefully Arthas has got that ability that removes paralysis. Or hopefully I gave it to her. But I will say, sword is a very, very fun to use weapon. It's just not going to be a weapon that's for everyone. But one thing I have noticed about the sword skills is it doesn't seem like you can't use any of them in the air at the very beginning. But when you level them up and you get them to the higher tier abilities, you will be able to use them after jumping. So there is some variation to the skills, which is nice. So if you've got a level 1 skill, it's going to have a lower stat requirement, but it's going to have less effects on there. So level 1 Sharp Nail will just be able to deal damage. Then I believe the higher level ones will be able to deal damage, but you'll have to use it in midair as well and do slightly more damage, but it will have a higher stat requirement. Alright. So there we go. That's a nice little look at the sword gameplay. That's what swords are like. I will leave you with some gameplay from what I've done in the dungeons. This is what will happen, or what can happen, if you start to, I guess, learn the swords and understand the enemy you're fighting. This is going to be versus a melee boss. If you want to follow me on Twitch, then head over to twitch.tv/Havian. Follow me on Twitter to get information a lot sooner than I can make a video for, and to keep updated on when I'll be doing new streams or getting information for videos and such. And until next time, I'll see you all later.